Back to Cato Living, we are joined now with Joyce, who is going to be teaching us a lot about how to grow tomatoes specifically in a pot. And Joyce, I'm kind of excited to talk about this because I am a notorious non-gardener. I feel like I couldn't do it even if I tried. But as you were telling me before the cameras started rolling, it's actually easier than people think, right?
It is actually. Basically, there's just a few things that you need. The most important one is you have to have a sunny spot. Tomatoes need 6 to 8 hours of sun, and even if you live in an apartment, if you have a deck or a patio, it'll work as long as you have the sunlight. And the second most important thing, I think, is the container that you use. Have to make sure you have good drainage. You know, there's some beautiful ceramic pots out there. You don't want to use them because it's going to waterlog your tomato. So you just need some basic stuff. You need a container. You need a support like a tomato cage. I think people know what those are. You need to have the correct kind of fertilizer, which would be potting fertilizer, not garden fertilizer, because garden fertilizer will compact at the bottom of the pot, and then it's going to just turn into clay. And
You don't want all that buildup down there.
No. You just want potting like you would use for any other, like flowers. So potting soil. And the other thing that you need to figure out is the watering. If you're having a tomato in a container, like last summer, I recall, we had some really, really hot days, and people that were trying to grow vegetables in containers were having to water like twice a day. And that's why you need to have really good drainage, because the water's got to run through, but no plants really want to be waterlogged. And the other consideration would be fertilizer. You do need to fertilize them, even if you buy, there's, Miracle-Gro and different products out there that says feeds for, I don't know how many, 6 months or something like that. Tomatoes need a little more food than that. So I would strongly recommend something like a Miracle-Gro. And again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to buy a 12 quart, just a small, they sell it in really small containers, and you can buy that, and it's water soluble. So you add it with your water, probably fertilize, I would say like once a week, but it depends on how much you're watering. If you have a really hot, dry situation and you're watering every day, you're not going to want to fertilize every day, so probably once every 10 days or something like that. The other thing is, most plants don't want to have their roots too wet. So, okay, when do I water? Well, if it's 90 degrees, obviously, but otherwise you just stick your finger in the soil and it should be dry about to the first knuckle, or should be, if it's dry after the first knuckle, then you definitely want to water.
Dry after the first knuckle, and then that's when you want to water
That's when you definitely want to water.
Okay.
Interesting.
And then the other thing is, okay, so what kind of tomatoes am I going to plant?
Right.
Well,
That's what my question was about to be.
Okay. A lot of people that do patio, they usually call them patio tomatoes, usually plant like cherry tomatoes, which they're fairly easy to grow, they're prolific, you get a lot. But the other piece of it is, though, with a cherry tomato, sometimes you get more than you could possibly use. And cherry tomatoes are kind of useless for canning, or they're great for salads, great for like an hors d'oeuvre tray, but how many hors d'oeuvre trays are you eating? I mean,
It's kind of realistic here.
It's one of those things, so you need to be realistic. A couple of suggestions I have is one kind of tomato that's really excellent for pot growing is, they're called celebrities. It's kind of a mid-range, middle of the season tomato. The tomatoes get about this big. They're nice and they're wonderful for like slicing and putting on sandwiches. I mean, I think there's hundreds of varieties of tomatoes that have been hybridized, and big boys, early girls, beefsteak, Roma. There's a whole bunch of choices that even if you go to a garden center, it's like, how do I even know what to do?
Wow.
Oftentimes, it's really best if you go to a garden center to ask one of the employees, what are the best tomatoes for potting, for patio growing? Because
Joyce, we're actually running out of time right now, but you've convinced me this is easier than people think.
It absolutely is.
Yes, and if somebody wanted to reach out for more resources, how can they reach out?
More resources, really, we're affiliated with the University of Minnesota, and there is a Blue Earth County Extension Service, and if you just go online and Google or University of Minnesota Extension Service, just go Google that, and there's so much information that you'll get tired by the time you're done reading, and it gives you all the how-tos, what kind of soil, what to do, and the most important thing is to enjoy it.
Exactly, enjoy it. And thank you, Joyce. We're actually out of time, but we'll come back right after the break.
Okay.